All right. Hello and welcome. Um, so I saved this race, but it didn't. OBS didn't save it, unfortunately. So we gotta do the replay. So I guess in a sense, this is my first voiceover. Should be interesting. But with that being said, we better get this show on the road. Um, Quality was okay. Nothing special. I've always been more of a race pace kind of guy, but as you can see, we're starting in P7, and no use starting on the softs that far back, so that's why we're on the mediums. But let us get going. All right. So I was aiming to not lose too much time at T1, but make sure I don't get damaged. And I end up overcooking it. And if you look behind, it turns out it was probably a good thing, because it was quite a cluster back there. But made it out alive, so that's good. Trying to see who's got pace and who doesn't. But yeah, I have no idea what happened to that guy. I was like, I just, not even forcefully, I just kind of bumped him. I was going to bump him along, and then he just died. I have no idea what happened there. Yeah, that aside, we're up one spot. Um, Opening lap, so trying to be mindful of cold tires. But I got lucky that these two, Nestor and Nicholson, I think the one caught the gravel and was starting to lose it, and the other one had nowhere to go and got collected. So I got lucky. I was like, "Ooh boy, this is looking good." So yeah, we're up into P4 so far. Had some luck go our way, which it's never a bad thing to have luck on your side. So I was like, okay, let's get into a rhythm. And I'm by no means quick here. I mean, I'm decent at Nürburgring GP, but I wouldn't say I'm quick. I'll probably go with competent would be the word, but yeah. Just trying to settle in now that we're past lap 1. And see how things are looking pace-wise. If I remember correctly, the leader started on softs. And so I believe me as well as the two in front are on mediums, I think. I think they are. But yeah. So we're just going along, not doing too badly. It's not. I would say they have more pace than I did. Or where do they own softs? I forget. I know at some point they had it coming together later on in the race. Initially, I was like, "Ooh, what happened?" Because I think they both ended up getting damaged. But yeah, brake bias, I think we were running negative. It was either 2 or 3. It was something like that. But yeah, yeah, because they had a bit more pace. And so, not a bad second lap. Nothing too spicy. So we're just trudging along. Not really anything exciting going on. Like we're all just trying to run our own race at this moment in time. But I will say at this time, I was aware that the guy behind me, he was catching me up. Initially, I thought he just had that good pace, but it ended up turning out that the guy behind was actually on softs, and so that's why he was catching me up. I forget when it happens, but yeah, he does indeed catch me up. It might be lap 4 or 5. Probably 5. But yeah, I see the two guys in front, they definitely have some good pace in the Viper. Bless them in the Viper. But yeah, so I was like, okay. They seem to have more pace than I do, so I was like, okay, we'll just run our own race and try our best. Yeah, I totally missed my braking. It was lap 4. Okay. Yeah, I missed my braking there. I was like, oops. I was like, yeah, instead of just trying to avoid a pin and giving up time, I was like, yeah, I'll just take it. So, yeah, I outbroke myself, but it happens. So, yeah, by this point, I see the guy's definitely way quicker than I am. So I'm like, I was like, I need to not fight this too hard, because I don't want to lose too much time. So I was like, okay. And I was like, you know what? This is a good spot. I had a bad turn there, so I was like, I'll just let him go. Didn't want to lose more time by fighting it. Even more so since it turns out he was on softs. He was always going to overtake eventually, so I was like, you know what? We'll just let him by. Just use his draft. That being said, kind of a bit spread out at the moment, but the guy ahead that we let by, him being on softs, he eventually catches up the two up front. So yeah, taking our pin this time. Fortunately, we won't be losing anything. So we're fine there. Yeah, it seems like when I've seen other people going through that chicane, it seems like they struggle with it. That, or they're just not willing to really attack it. So, like, there were more than a few times I would gain on people because they would take it a bit more conservatively. But yeah, we're on lap 5, and I'm like, okay. And at this point, I still didn't know that the guy ahead that we let by was on softs. It's not until he boxes that I was like, ooh, he was on softs. So that's why he was so fast. But yeah, apart from the pin that I ended up getting, everything's going all right. I'm thinking, okay, it's like we could probably do a top 5. Yeah, seeing it's getting a bit congested up ahead, and so I was like, ooh. Because that was part of the reason why I let the guy go. besides him having more pace, I was like, ooh, maybe he can do something that will benefit me. So I was like, okay. So you see that those three are pretty close together. Leaders got a tiny gap. So I was like, okay. I was like, let's see what happens. Ooh. Yeah, I was like, ooh, what happened here? I think these two had gotten damage. And so I was like, ooh, because I managed to get past him, and eventually I do make my way towards the other dude. So I think they ended up both getting damage, possibly. So I was like, ooh, how tasty. So I was like, okay. I was like, at this point, I was like, I need to push and try and get as close as I can to P3, since he's got a pin that he'll be taking this lap. So, because I'm catching him, and I was like, okay, all right, I might be able to get him when he takes his pin. Getting close to the gates, and I'm getting closer and closer. So sweet. But yeah, I was like, fortunately, I was close enough that overtook him without issue, and so not quite time to box yet, but we're getting there. So I'm like, okay. So the guy ahead, like this one, I find out he was on soft. So I was like, ooh, so that's why he has so much pace. So I was like, okay, so he won't be shouldn't be a problem towards the end, since he'll be on mediums. But leader, if I recall, I think he's on softs. So I'm like, all right, how am I going to do this? I was like, do I box this lap or do I box next lap? Try to get like an undercut, or do I try to go for like an over? Because I've been in a few races with the guy in the lead, and he's a pretty quick, clean guy. So I was like, I just need to try and not lose too much time. So I'm like, all right, because I think he boxes this lap. But yeah, at this point I'm like, might be on for a podium if things go the right way for me. So I'm thinking, okay, that's like, as long as I don't make any blunders, I could totally get a podium out of this. Which is more than I was honestly expecting, but hey. Yeah, I went to downshift and it didn't shift. I was like, oh shoot. So yeah, that's why I ended up nearly getting a pin at the chicane. So I was like, all right. Like, so he was on soft, so I was like, all right. So just need to try and put in a good in lap. Because I believe I decided that I was going to box this lap. So yeah, we just need a solid in lap. Then we'll see how things pan out after we come out. But yeah, up to this point, it's like things been going pretty alright so far. I'm like, okay, things are going well. It's like we're probably no worse than a podium at the moment. I was like, things are going alright. Yeah, the Schumacher chicane with the SpaceX, it's like, yeah, it's like, I can never really get it right. And if I attack the curb too much on entry, then it bobbles the car out wide. So I kind of had to take it a bit careful. Oh. So I believe we're coming in this lap. And you should totally keep an eye out for what's going to happen. So I go in, and then I was like, oh shoot, I'm probably literally going to go into the barrier. I was like, no! I was like, I need to, I was like, bail. Interesting. So yeah, I was like, oh snap. I was like, I need to not box, because if I box, I still would, I would get a 3-second pin, and I was like, I can't be having that now. So that's why I canceled by just going over. And so this is my actual in lap. Yeah, because I ended up trying to attack the pit lane too much, and I was like, oh no. But yeah, this is the lap that I end up ultimately boxing. Funny as that pit lane excursion was, yeah, I wasn't even mad. I was like, oh, I found it hilarious, honestly. But yeah, we're almost there. Cars, the mediums on their way out, and it's like I'm kind of sliding more often than not, so I was like, okay, time to get off these mediums and put the softs on. Alright, and then I wasn't going to have any more drama, so I was like, I was going to take it easy this time around. I was like, no, please no drama. There we go. Yeah, so at this point, I was like, wasn't entirely sure where I was going to come out at. I was like, with the cars that are coming around, I'm like, it probably will be no worse than, what, maybe third or fourth? Something like that. And then we had this guy. And so I was like, oh, okay. Alright. So we filter back in fourth place. So I was like, okay, not bad. We'll have to work for this podium, but I was like, we can do this, because the guy in P2, he's on mediums, so I know we'll definitely catch him at some point. So I was like, I wasn't worried about him. So So I'm like, all right, let's get these tires up to temp and try and be smooth. Yeah, he nearly lost it there, but he managed to keep it. But yeah, I think the leader and P2 are the ones on medium. So I'm like, okay, we can do this. So coming up to the chicane, I was like, so I was wondering when Roger Rabbit was going to properly go at him. So I was keeping an eye out on when he was going to have overtake him. So I was like, could it be here? It's like, nope, not yet. But yeah, I knew like eventually it's going to happen because the top two are on medium. So I was like, and me and Roger were on soft. So I was like, not sure when, but at some point we're going to overtake. So he finally managed to skip past. So I thought, all right. So I'm like, I'm getting awfully close. I'm like, so I'm starting to think about, okay, when am I going to go for it? Because he's not just going to exactly give it to me. There's like, has to be something, so I'm like, when to go for it? I'm like, too far back from here to go for it at the chicane, so I was like, no, not here. So, alright. Oop. I was like, okay. He messed up the exit, so I'll go for it here. And managed hold it through the outside. Had the short shift on the exit. But we managed to make it work, and he slots in behind. So I'm like, all right, we got that done. So now we need to move forward, because now we just got the leader, who is on medium. So I'm like, all right, this is looking good. I was like, we're P3 at the moment. I see he is like getting pretty racy up there with the leader. Because I think the leader is more or less he fights it. Because I think it takes a little bit before it happens. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, hopefully the leader holds him up enough that I can get a little bit closer. So I'm like, all right. So, yeah, we coming up towards the end, and so I'm like, all right. Don't know when it. Yeah, it's going to happen, but he's totally going to go for it at some point. I just don't know when. And then they fight too much and they slow me down. That's going to pull the guy behind back into the fight. So I'm like, kind of need to play this smart. Otherwise, I could fall out of the podium. Even though he's on mediums, if they fight too much and I can't get past that when they're doing all their fighting, then yeah, that could be problematic. Yeah, because Lear knows a lot. If he gets past it, like, he's definitely not winning. So I'm like, I was like, what to do? Because we built up a small gap to the guy behind, but it's not exactly the biggest gap. So I'm like, I still need to play this smart. So I'm like, all right. Yeah, lost a little bit of time there, but we're still within a shot. So I'm like, all right, let's just keep it consistent. I was like, ooh, easy there. Yeah, and I had to back off there. Otherwise, I was going to run into him, so I was like, So, yeah, there, he just lost it on the curb. I felt bad for him. I was like, oh man, that sucks. Because initially I was kind of wondering if it was contact with the guy ahead, Roger. But no, it was just the curb unsettled the car. And so, yeah, I felt bad for him. I was like, oh man, that sucks. Be on the penultimate lap and have that happen. So we're P2 on halfway through the penultimate lap, and so I'm like, all right, how are we going to do this? He messes up here, and it's like I could have tried to go for it, but I'm like, nah, that's going to end in tears. So I'm like, So he doesn't close off that, so I go for it here. Give him the space. Then I was thinking about trying to do an undercut, but he had it. So I'm like, all right. Sounds like, got a P3 behind, so I stay in the middle, so you don't get any ideas. Yeah, I think he messes up. Yeah, he messes up here. Slight contact, but nothing major. So I'm like, alright, need to keep an eye out. So make sure yeah, he goes out really wide, like wide. So I think he tried to brake too late, and that's what ended up happening with him. And I was like, I kind of missed my brakes there, but more or less park it and keep the lead. And I was like, ugh. At this point, I'm like, I'm deathly quiet. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx anything. Nothing. So I'm like, starting to build a little gap. I don't know if it's because his tires are falling off, or if he's like defending from P3, but I'm like, okay, I'm starting to gap him a little bit. So I was like, okay, sweet. Through a few more corners and still maintaining the gap. Now coming up to the chicane, I basically granny it. I was like, I don't want no gosh forsaken pin, so I was like, I'll just granny it, so that we're not going to have any drama. Final turn, and there you have it. Mr. C actually wins a race from P7 to P1 for a record high 193 points. But with that being said, I thank you for your time, and if you made it to the end, leave a comment saying #LFG. But with that being said, I thank you for your time. Hope you have a good one. Oh yeah, feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I guess I'll see you next time. Ta-ta.